back. Welcome back to another segment of Getting Buggy with Dana. We're getting serious here, folks. We're going to learn about the final fly of the night, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fly of season 7. And this one is called the Poacher. And I struggled hard to find information about this one. So I'm going to do my best to give you guys a little bit of when to fish it, some history, some entomology, and how to fish it. But this is the Poacher. It is a wet fly, and the agenda is going to look the exact same as every time we do this. A little bit of history. I don't really have history, so I'm just going to fly through that. It's the idea that it's a swung wet fly, and it can imitate a little bit of a baitfish pattern. It can imitate emerging insects, and sometimes it's just a searching pattern. I couldn't find out quite exactly where it came from. Maybe you know, and you can put that in the comments down below here. So what I also need to know is, we just talked about it, it can be lots of little things like this, just like last week's Cape McLaren. So it pulsates from the hackle. It moves just like the Cape McLaren, except it's got a little bit of a different body where it doesn't really have that double hackle. And anyways, what's going to be more important is something like this, where you're going to have to learn how to fish it, and you're just going to swing it. It's best fish subsurface, traditional wet fly techniques, and I would say swing it through some currents, and give it some pulsating, some strips. You can fish it with a bit of weight. You could also fish it with somewhat of a sinking line, or a sinking leader, or something to just kind of get that fly down. And now that all depends on where you fish it. If it's in the fast riffles, it can be a little heavier line because of the hydraulics of the current. The fly is going to be doing this. Maybe if you want to get deeper in the water column on slower water, you're going to do kind of the same thing. Let it sink for a little bit longer and bring it back. Vary your retrieves. Try to figure out something that works for you, and try it all. Like I said, there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to this, but we're kind of going across this searching, which is why we do the swinging flies. And where to fish it? Well, you're going to fish it in bodies of water. It's a good start. It's a swinging fly, so you can swing it in lakes. You can troll with it in lakes. You can swing it in a river. You can fish it as a dropper, maybe. Hopper dropper. Why not? Because sometimes those emerging insects are near the surface, just as we talked about with the film critic. But get creative and don't think to yourself, I don't know how to fish this one. You can use it as the first fly of the day as you're just searching. You can see a pot of fish and you can swing this through. And that, my friends, might be one of the better tips of the night for the fly known as the Poacher. Couple things here. What do you talk about? A 5, a 7 weight? I don't know. If you go to smaller streams and you got some brook trout and you want to use a 3 weight and they're 3 to 5 inches, fill your boots. I could probably use a 5, 6 weight on the bow. I feel that's good enough for the fish. It's not so much that the rod needs to match the fly, because the fly isn't really that big. Now you can tie this fly quite a bit bigger. It's up to you. Do you got spooky trout? Maybe you want to use a little bit longer of a leader. I wouldn't geek out about that, because ultimately it's a swung fly and it's not really going to be spooky that much. We're trying to attract fish with this, right? So that assassination, the creep, what am I looking for? The stealthy attack isn't really going to be something that this fly needs to be successful. I believe I read that it's meant to imitate a beetle and a grasshopper, and it's meant to imitate a spider. Okay, we talked, somebody wrote it in earlier, I think it was Trout Maharishi, that fish love drowned insects, and this can be a drowned insect. Yes, very much so. Well, Travis said that he's putting his flies in the water, and that's what he's doing wrong. So that's Getting Buggy with Dana, and this fly is rather kind of boring in that whole like backstory of it, because I really couldn't find a lot, and I think sometimes these flies that come from England and Scotland and area are kind of hard to find a bit of the origin to them, and they've probably been tweaked and turned so many different ways over the years that now we have the poacher. So if you have more of the story on this one, I would loved, and in the future also love to know exactly what it is. So whether you're targeting trout in the mountain streams or you're chasing salmon in coastal rivers, the Poacher wet fly delivers results. Tie a few, experience its magic on the water, and experiment with colors. Why not? I think that's wrap for my slideshow. Until next time, I'm Dana, and this is Getting Buggy with Dana.